Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight. I want to ask all the candidates that are running for office to come sit up here. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself, and you only get 20 minutes each, so. 2 minutes, actually. We'll play musical chairs, and you can. Okay. We will start down here. Cody Maynard. Come on down.
Well, good evening. I just want to start off, and I wanted to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight, because we live in a country where we have the freedom to actually choose and vote for who will represent us in our government. And all over the world, that's not a privilege that people have. So thank you for taking the time out of your evening to come do that. Well, I see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. I see some I don't know. So if I haven't had the privilege of meeting you yet, like you said, my name's Cody Maynard. My background, I'm a CPA, so my training's in financial management and accounting. And if you've watched the news lately, you've probably seen things in the news about Swidley's Barbecue, which they're under investigation for around $15 million of our taxpayer dollars being misappropriated. You've also seen earlier this year the Epic charter school system. That full audit's not done yet, but we are probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 million plus that has been misused or misappropriated. And there's no such thing as misuse of government funds. There's only your funds, because those funds the government has, they come from your pockets. And so I hope to bring my skills to bear at the state capitol for you this next year in increasing financial, in increasing the financial accountability of our government, transparency. Go up here. All right. Is that better? All right. So I want to bring those skills I have as a CPA to bear at our state capitol to increase our financial accountability of how our funds are used and administered. Right now, we only have one other CPA in our entire capital. And when you consider that we administer $28 billion a year, that's a little bit scary, because we're trained in how to go into businesses and assess proper internal controls. Use of funds. I can talk loud if I need to. And those are things that I think are extremely important. So for me, personally, I believe one of the best ways I can live out my faith as a Christian is to serve those in my community with the skills and the giftings that God's given me. And when I'm up there at the Capitol, there's also the important job that you make sure your legislator knows what their real job is. So as a legislator, it's actually really simple. You have one job. It is to research, write, and pass good legislation for your state. And I define good legislation as a law or a bill that, number one, it protects the people. That's what laws are for, to protect you from either others or from the government or from businesses taking your freedoms. And number two, and a lot of people forget this part, a good law should empower you to live out those freedoms. And if laws don't do that, we don't need to pass them. So I hope to bring my skills to bear at our state capitol for you and to pass good legislation. Thanks.
All right, I will be brief because I know I'm not the main entertainment for tonight. Just a real quick introduction. My name is Scott Goat. I'm running for Bryan County Commissioner, District 1. Born and raised in Bryan County, graduated from Grant High School, Southeastern Illinois State University. Spent the last 20 years working in the IT industry. So I'd like to take some of what I've learned over the years working with the federal government, working with tribal nations, and generally my experience to try and bring a new approach and enable some new engagement with Bryan County. So I'll pass it on to Dustin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dustin Reed. I am also a candidate along with Cody and Penny for the state representative seat for House District 21. I want to introduce myself tonight. My background, I was a former educator. I currently work for Choctaw Nation in their strategic development department, where I oversee 15 different departments and about $125 million. In my role, I focus on economic development, tourism, so we're keeping an eye on the Swidley's thing, business development, helping with infrastructure, and helping with education and workforce development. I've been married to my lovely wife back here going on 8 years. We have 3 beautiful children, all under 6, 3 daughters. so I might be bald in a few years, but it'll be all right. But the reason I am running, the biggest thing that's motivating me is my family and my community. I'm active in several organizations throughout our community, and I love to serve. And what you're going to get with me is a servant leader's heart. I'm going to go up there to that Capitol. I'm going to be able to collaborate with everybody, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be able to represent our community to the best of my knowledge and bring a diverse set of skills that our community needs. We've got a lot of growth coming. We need to make sure we grow right. And I think I'm the best guy that can help do that with the skill set that I've earned through Choctaw Nation. A little bit else about me. I'm a farmer and a rancher. We own a family farm out in Calera. We wanted to raise our daughters on a farm so they know what work ethic's like. And we're not scared to work. But my word, I'm going to give you guys my word here tonight. You will not have somebody up at the Capitol who will fight harder for the needs of Bryan County and Marshall County. And I will do everything that I can to represent District 21 with the servant leader's heart and protecting our conservative Christian values. So I'm going to hand it over to Penny. Thank you.
I'm going to get here, if that's okay. This is for you guys, so I stay on track so I don't go over. I've narrowed it down just a little bit. So my name is Penny James. I want to thank you for attending tonight's forum. I am honored to be one of the 4 candidates vying for your vote and for your family and friends. I know why you're here, so I'm going to tell you a little bit why I'm here, okay? The reason that I am wanting to run, I've always wanted to do this all my life, but I wanted to raise my family first. I felt like I didn't want to sacrifice that, but while I was not doing the politician role, I served on a rural water board. I served on a hospital board. I've served on some Kamishi technology boards, and I've even served on volunteer fire department. So that's a little bit about me on what I've done on civic-wise. I like to quote the late, great President Ronald Reagan. He was one of those that said, trust but verify. And that is what I will bring to the voters of District 21. That's the kind of representative I will be. You can trust me. Anybody that's been around me, I'm a genuine person. I build relationships. And I think that while I build relationships, that I also can let people see the pros and cons of whatever we're looking at. I was going to get in the budget, but I'm not because that's already been said. But I was taught in a generation where when we were taught you don't spend more than you make. And you don't charge on a credit card just when you get where you can't pay. Same thing with the state legislative. Just because we're in debt doesn't mean we raise taxes too. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit. I am a constitutional conservative and a Bible-based Christian who is also a widow, a mother, and a grandsee. So if I could sum up a word why I'm here, it would be the word protect. I'm wanting to go up there and protect Oklahoma, protect District 21. The first thing I can think of is I want to protect the unborn. In the Bible it says, it's very clear that the unborn child is a valuable life. You would think that would be enough, but it's not. So we need to protect them. The second thing I would like to protect is education. I was a teacher for several years in the classroom. I know the difficulties and the struggles, but I also know we need to get back to teaching subject matters. Not the thing like gender identity and not like critical race theories that's dividing our country more and more. And our country is being divided. Instead of coming together, we're being divided. So I want those kids to come in and feel safe, and I want that excitement back. And I feel like teachers are handcuffed right now. And another thing, which you could probably think about your own teacher. We've all got our favorite teachers. The next thing I would like to protect is our law enforcement. To be honest, if you told me 2 years ago there would be talk about defunding the police, I think you were crazy. I would have never in my life thought we would want to defund the police. You know, defund means taking money away from them, you know. And I met with a lady the other day. One of my problems is, I don't think it's a problem, but when I go into a house, I'm there a while. Especially the mature seniors invite me in. I'm going to get bigger than what I am because they want me to eat, and I can't refuse because they're good cooks. So when I go in, there was this lady. When I told her I was a widow, she had lost her husband, and she's scared to stay by herself. And she had a gun on her coffee table, and she was 78 years old. And I was telling her, I said, "Is that a 22? And she said, "Yes." She said, "I got one bullet in." She said, "I'm just so afraid if someone breaks in, I don't know if the police will come." Because she said, I know where they are. They just don't have the money. They don't have the resource. And I told her, I said, "Ma'am, I'm going to tell you, all you're going to do is make someone mad with that 22 because you're not going to hurt them, you know." So I took her number, and that is mine. I'm going to take her to my house. I know she's going through a hard time. The other thing that I want to do is protect the Second Amendment. You know, people's been trying to take our guns. I grew up with guns. I did. I lived on a farm. I respected guns. We weren't careless with them. They were there to protect us on that part. So I know all about, you know, the Second Amendment is to bear the right to bear arms. That ink is supposed to be dried, but it's not. They're keeping on wanting us to take away. They're always going to do that. And the last thing I want us to protect would be our farmers and ranchers. You know, it'd be a scary thing. Oklahoma is number 5 in the country that sells produce on beef. You know, it's kind of sad now when you go on the grocery stores and the shelves are bare. So I want to protect the farmers and the ranchers because they are the backbone. So they're hardworking people. I think that I'm supposed to close at the end on. I get up here passionate, I get to talking. I just want you to know I'm a genuine person, and you can trust, and I will verify for you. I don't know your name.
Hi, I'm Jay Perry. I've served 3 terms as a Bryan County Commissioner in District 3. I have an opponent, just won this time, so June the 28th, it'll decide, it'll just be a primary, and I'd sure appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you very much.
A lot of y'all know who I am. I'm Ron Boyer. I am the Commissioner for District 1 right now in Bryan County. Been here 2 terms, or finishing my 2nd one. And it's been a fun challenge and experience to do this job. It's not what a lot of people think it is. The commissioner's job is not just to go out and blade the roads. Yes, we do have a crew. We have foremen that do know how to do that, and they do a good job of it. But a commissioner is also one that will delegate the money to be spent in the proper locations so that we get the biggest bang for our buck. As someone has said earlier, the county doesn't have an awful lot of money. We're the redheaded stepchild of the government organizations. They don't fund us. We're basically caretakers. We take care of unincorporated land until someone can buy or annex it back into the cities. And that's about the naked truth of what goes on. But in that process, our county has grown. My district has enjoyed probably the most growth in this county. It's everything west of the 75. And because of that, we have a lot of unique challenges. We got a lot of people. According to the census, I gained close to 2,500 people this time around. That's a lot. And so we've got challenges of how we develop our infrastructure. And the infrastructure is not just roads, but also the utilities that you use, like electricity and water. All of that stuff is not an infinite amount. We all have we all have needs for that, but it doesn't just grow on trees either. So we have to come up with ways to manage that. My job around here lately has been doing a lot of trying to figure out the best way to manage our county. And today I was privileged, if you want to say, finally we got the deed to the federal building. And so now the county now has another home. It's right on the other side of the city hall. But I was told a long time ago when I started, if we get a building, it has to be close to the courthouse. I don't know if you've been down there, but there's not a lot of buildings near the courthouse. We were very fortunate to get this one. It's going to probably take us about 18 months to 2 years to do the renovation on it so we can put people in it. But I think that'll give us a lot of growth. This job is very unique. There's not a lot of rules, and there's not a lot of checks and balances. So you have to have your trust in us to be able to do the job. I hope I've earned that. I've done this thing for 2 terms. I'm going to do it one more time, and I'll be here to serve you guys, and my door's always open. Thanks.
Sir? Mr. Burkeen, come on up. Sir.
I don't know about the sir part. I have disappeared. I've been in the trucking, dozer, excavator business for about 4 years. There's a famous quote by George Mason that said, basically that politics shouldn't be a lifetime position, that you should return and experience the burdens that you place upon everyone else. I was the last. There's 14 candidates that have announced for the United States Congress. I was 14 out of 14 to get in. And my wife and I spent months in prayer making sure that the ambition or opportunity was not the driver, that it was about looking at our nation, and it was really about what's happening to our kids. We're a borderless nation. Nobody knows what the boundaries of the Constitution is, and because the rule of law is not enforced, because we don't send people to Washington, D.C. to make good decisions, we as citizens should send educated constitutionalists to send up there that abide by the Constitution, and they know what the enumerated powers are, they know what the role of Congress is, and they know that everything else is to be left to the states. There's a gentleman by the name of Stephen Moore who wrote a book, and he talked about in the 1900s, when you look at local government and state and the collection of taxes and the total spend, that all taxes collected and all spending, 60% was local. This was in 1900. And 20% was federal. And that turned on its head by the 1990s. By the 1990s, the federal government was at 67% of all government spending, and the local government was at 20%. And that's the situation of sending professional politician after professional politician to Washington, D.C., who are wanting to give free candy to everybody. And we know better. It's time to start buying vegetables, or we're not going to have a nation left. My little daughter, who was just born, her debt load is $90,000. That's her share of that $30 trillion national debt. Winning elections is meaningless if we lose this nation. And so what my wife and I are in it for is to secure the future for our kids. And we're a borderless nation that doesn't know the Constitution, the boundary of the Constitution, the 18 enumerated powers. We're a borderless, boundaryless nation. That's why Mexico is coming north, because we don't know that Article 4, Section 4 says that we are to guarantee to every state a Republican form of government and to be free of invasion. And we're a boundaryless, borderless nation that doesn't know the difference between man and woman, because we have absolutely put aside the rule of law and God's definition of what is truth. And so I ask for your support for Congress. I won't go up there and play the game. I didn't play at the state capitol. I'll go up there and I'll join the Freedom Caucus, and we'll use the leverage of a 40-member block to turn this nation back around and get things back on course.
We have one candidate that couldn't be here tonight, Ryan Williams. It's your turn.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, good deal. Yeah, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Ryan Williams. I'm really sorry I couldn't be there tonight. I really wanted to be. We scheduled a family vacation many months ago, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm in the bottom of a sailboat in St. Thomas. So I appreciate y'all letting me do a virtual meeting. It was very nice of you, and once again, I'm very sorry I couldn't make it. But just give you a little bit of my background. I live outside of Calera with my wife and 2 children. We live out in the country there, and I graduated from Southeastern. I didn't get to hear the earlier candidates' speech, so if I are talking about themselves there on what they had to say. So if I say something too long or out of context, I'm sorry. But anyway, so I graduated from Southeastern there. I'm a pilot for a major airline in Dallas, flying the Boeing 737. The reason why I got into running for representative is actually for my little girl. She's about to turn 7. She goes to school there in Calera, And the main thing in my life right now is to try to provide the best possible education for she and my son, who's 1 year old. This was the best route for me to do that, and it's not only going to benefit my children, but I want to try to benefit all of our community, all of our children. We're having some issues in Oklahoma right now with our education system. You know, our teachers are not paid what they should be. Same with our first responders, in my opinion, and these are things that we need to take care of. We need to improve. We need to not be one of the lowest rated states in education. We need to be the envy of the other states, and that's what I intend to do if I am elected. So yeah, that's my story. I get to travel. I'm very fortunate. I get to travel all around the country and see many different communities of how they do things. Some of those things I feel are better. Some of them are much worse. But of all the places that I've gone, all the places that I've lived, you see where I've come back to. And this is my home. This is our home. And I intend to maintain our good, strong conservative values that we have. I'm very pro Second Amendment. Attended a meeting just a few days ago, actually, in the very room that you're sitting there. And I will do everything in my power to defend our values that we have there. And I'm very proud to be part of our area, part of our community. And I want to say thank you for letting me attend virtually. Like I say, I didn't hear the earlier portion of this. They got the sound working for me now. So any questions you might have for me, I'd be happy to answer. And thanks again for having me today.
We've got candidates everywhere. We've got one more. Dustin Roberts' wife is here, and I'm going to let her speak wherever you want.
Part of that cut out. I'm working off of Wi-Fi from a long way away, but let's say that one more time. I'm sorry. Okay.
Hi, Ryan. I'm going to butt in for a minute.
Okay.
Well, I'm very sorry I've been rude sneaking out. I barely have a voice, but if you'll allow me, I'd like to talk about my husband for a second. As Don said, my name is Lindsay Roberts, and my husband is State Representative Dustin Roberts. He currently holds the District 21 seat, which he is terming out of. And the main point that I hope to get across quickly before I lose my voice again is that out of all the candidates on the ballot, I think he has the best resume, the proven resume to be fit as your next congressman. Dustin is a United States Navy veteran, and in his first 100 days of election hopes to be put on the Armed Services Committee. Where that really affects us here in Bryan County, here in southeastern Oklahoma, is it affects our military bases, it affects our Lake Texoma, our major rivers and waterways. And what is so critical is we keep getting told over and over and over again that Lake Texoma is not for recreational use, it is a floodplain, and that's what it's to be used for. Well, if we all remember back to 2015, where businesses and homes were absolutely devastated by flooding, we remember that all they kept talking about was how much it silted in. So being on that committee, he could actually request of the Army Corps of Engineers to have that lake dredged. Let's get it a little bit deeper so that, yes, we can use it for the recreation and the economic development that is there, but let's also have that dredged so it can be used as the floodplain that it is. The other part of it is we have some major rivers in our state that are used for supply chain. Take example, fertilizer is largely brought into the Port of Catoosa. That's something I've worked with my entire life. But right now, our barges can only carry half capacity through there because the river is silted in to the point that they can't even get through there safely to deliver fertilizer to their ports. It is absolutely necessary that the Corps of Engineers come in to dredge those. But in our government, we have very poor customer service, and that's something that Dustin will tell you up front. It's usually the answer is no first before they try to help you. And also being on that committee, as a veteran, he wants to reform our VA system. It is shameful what our veterans go through on a daily basis, literally dying in line, waiting for their VA claims to be processed. And with their saying no first thought process, all of their claims are denied just for them to have to stand back in line again to have them reprocessed, and then usually told no a second time. And it's very shameful, especially to the two of us, that, these veterans make a promise, to devote their life and even give their life for our country in exchange from a promise from our government that says, this is what I will give you in the form of benefits, to just be denied in the end. And so his thought process, what he would like to do, is to come in and to streamline that process, make it more efficient. And then lastly, I'll lose my voice here pretty quick, I'm sorry. He is proven that he can balance a budget and make the absolutely hard decisions to end spending. If you've seen what we've gone through, or he's gone through, and his colleagues at the state legislature for the last 12 years, we had a budget and a balance that was up and down over all these years. They successfully have made a savings account that someday we can rely on if we need to. Right now, we're a little bit more in the black than in the red. But the point of all of that is he's made the hard decisions and stuck with it. When the going got tough in our state, he rolled up his sleeves and actually moved the needle forward. He actually moved our state forward. And that's what's really important. And so lastly, well, I'll end it there because I'm going to lose my voice soon enough. But I respectfully ask for your support for him June 28th. Thank you.
You did it. Okay, I'm going to introduce the world-famous Holly Gerard.
Hi, guys. I just have a couple of really quick announcements, and then we'll get on with the forum. But a lot of you remember last fall when we were running out of T-shirts and we have a growing club, we decided we were going to order more Bryan County GOP T-shirts. So one box arrived just great, all the smalls, so that helped a few people. But the second box of all the normal size people clothes was stuck on a freighter off of California somewhere, and it finally arrived at my house this last week. So we actually have T-shirts for everyone, anybody that wants to take it and wear it proudly. We have our new Bryan County GOP T-shirts for you all to take home tonight, and definitely wear it proudly leading up to the June 28th primary elections. We are growing. We are really pleased that so many people are getting involved, so this is a way we can show that pride. Also, really quick, James Langford's team sent bumper stickers if anybody wants them, so they're out here. And then Cindy Bird, who is our state auditor, she sent her brochures as well for people to see what she's been doing. May 31st, if you all can mark your calendars. Sorry, do I have to go up there too? I don't want to get on stage. May 31st at 5:30. We're going to have a special Bryan County GOP and Lighthouse America meeting here at Fairview Baptist, where Cindy's going to come and speak. As you all know, she has wrapped up several audits. Right now, she has just gotten the order for the forensic audit. There we go. Forensic audit of Swadley's, that Commerce Department contract that they need to go back and look at. As many of you know, the state auditor is tasked with doing certain audits, but any audit like the Epic audit, Swadley's Barbecue, the Commerce Department one, all of those are special investigative, and now the entire audit of State Department of Ed. This is the first time we have ever had a full audit ordered for State Department of Education, so we can actually see the money flow of what is tied to the federal dollars, what we're forced to do as a state in compliance for those federal funds, and how that flow comes all the way down to your local school. So it's really fascinating, and for the first time, she is finally able to speak about some of the details of those audits, so you'll be able to get a real view. Trust me, an auditor's job is not boring. I think you all have seen the news recently, and she is the one that is tasked with getting to the bottom of these things when those orders come through from the governor, an attorney general, a district attorney, or a joint resolution of the House and Senate. They have to order those types of audits, and they're finally starting to do that, and we're getting to the bottom. Already, she has found $1.6 billion. These are our state funds. $1.6 billion in questioned Medicaid expenditures, $200 million in questioned expenditures in public education funds. You just saw this last week, Stillwater Public Schools, their lunch lady had taken over $200,000. $5.4 million spent on COVID PPE, which our state never received. And now she's doing the audit of the State Department of Ed. So please mark your calendars. You're going to love this evening event. She is on the ballot June 28th. She's the only CPA in that race for her reelection. So she is pretty well positioned to hopefully continue that for the next 4 years. And they just announced that she just won the national award from the National State Auditors Association. She won the National Excellence and Accountability Award for the forensic audit of Epic Charter Schools, which you all have seen. That audit came out 19 months ago, and they are still getting testimony and following up on that. So I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that in the news. All right, thank you. May 31st, 5:30 here at Fairview.
So that's not a popularity contest by any means. So, Pastor Ledbetter, I want to thank you for hosting this tonight, and I'd like you to come up here and say a couple of words if you would, or 3 or 4.
Very much. We're about to enter into this candidate forum, and I wrote something about 4:30, and I want you to listen to the words tonight because one of the framers, James Madison, said that only a well-instructed people may be permanently a free people. Alice Baldwin, Dean of the Women's College of Duke University in 1923 until her retirement in 1947, wrote a book called The New England Clergy and the American Revolution, in which she stated that each tenet of the Declaration of Independence came from a sermon preached by the pastors in the colonial era. The use of the phrase in the Declaration, they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, speaks of the Judeo-Christian ethic in which America was founded. Noah Webster, one of the early fathers, confirmed this. He said, the religion which has introduced civil liberty is the religion of Christ and his apostles, which enjoins humility, piety, and benevolence, which acknowledges in every person a brother or a sister, and a citizen with equal rights. This is genuine Christianity, and listen, he said, and to this we owe our free constitutions of government. The framers established something called the Congressional Record. It's in Article 1, Section 5, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution, and mandated that all the official words and acts of the Congress be recorded and preserved. The record preserves all the words and acts of the founders from June the 8th to September the 25th, 1789, as they crafted and framed the First Amendment. The record demonstrates that the founders repeatedly stated that their intent in establishing the First Amendment was to prevent what they experienced in Great Britain, namely, the establishment of one national religious denomination to the exclusion of all others. It's in the record. In the record, you see their attempts at crafting the First Amendment. Here are some of the attempts. The first one was, Congress shall not make any law establishing any religious denomination. That was September 3rd, 1789. The next attempt was, Congress shall make no law establishing any particular denomination, because they came from a country that had a national church that everybody had to go to and obey that system. And then they said, Congress shall make no law establishing any particular denomination in preference to another. That's their third attempt. And then they said this, Congress shall make no law establishing religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And that became the final. When the First Amendment was finalized, it contained 2 separate clauses on religion. First is the Establishment Clause, which prohibited the federal government from establishing a single national denomination. Did you hear that? That's all it does. The Free Exercise Clause prohibited the federal government from prohibiting the people's public religious expressions and acknowledgments. Both clauses, here's very important, both clauses restrict the actions of the federal government. Neither clause restricts the actions of the people. Can I get an amen? In 1947, the court wrongfully inserted a misleading metaphor called the wall between church and state into the First Amendment. In 1947, the Supreme Court nefariously, wrongly inserted a metaphor in the First Amendment And this misleading metaphor is not in the Constitution. It's found in Thomas Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptist Association, in which he said, religion is a matter which lies solely between a man and his God, that he owes account to none other for his faith or his worship, that the legislative powers of government reach actions only and not opinions. I contemplate with sovereign reverence that act of the whole American people which declared that their legislature would make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. That's where they got the metaphor. Adhering to this expression of the supreme will of the nation in behalf of the rights of conscience, Mr. Jefferson said, I shall see with sincere satisfaction the progress of those sentiments which tend to restore to man all his natural rights. In other words, President Jefferson said that government cannot restrict man's natural rights of religion, that the wall of separation keeps the government out of man's business, especially when it comes to religious expression and conscience. It does not keep the church out of the government's business. But with a greedy agenda, the Supreme Court in 1947, in the court case Everson versus the Board of Education, stated, the First Amendment has erected a wall between church and state. That wall must be kept high and impregnable. We could not approve the slightest breach. That has become a crowbar in our country today to separate us from our liberties. Relying on that phrase instead of the First Amendment, the court now, for 67 years, longer than that, has been striking down religious activities, expressions, and laws created by the framers, our legislators, and the federal and state governments of our land. Today, our First Amendment liberties, beloved, are under assault. Dr. Nicholas Merriweather, professor of philosophy at Shawnee State University in Portsmouth, Ohio, was fired for refusing to refer to a male student using female pronouns. In other words, he wouldn't call the male student a she. He was fired for that. That was in 2019. Not too long ago, during the pandemic, in 2020, October 2020, in the Simpson County, Mississippi School District, a little girl, Lydia Booth, wore a mask to school. Like all the other kids, her mask had something on the front of it. All their masks had a school logo or a state or a saying or something. Her mask said, Jesus loves me. The administrators took the mask from her, told her she could not wear the mask. They quickly wrote new board policies restricting that kind of activity in their school, kind of behind doors, if you will, and it's right there in the record. But they allowed every other kind of saying and logo and school logo, team logo, including Black Lives Matter. But Lydia couldn't wear a mask that said, Jesus loves me. You see that nefarious rulings being used as a crowbar to separate us from our liberties. We must fight to reclaim those liberties given to us by the framers. We must have and elect candidates who know the founding principles and who will make law and fight to adhere to those principles and not make decisions based on who bought them dinner last week. We must require our schools to teach these founding principles again. Why? Because today only 1 in 1,000 Americans can, by memory, state the 5 protections of the First Amendment. Can you do it? Well, it's not easy, I admit. But it points out the fact that we need to pay attention right now. Can I get an amen? Well, I close with this. Alliance Defending Freedom is an organization that we support. They send lawyers to fight these cases, and they don't charge the people a dime. Alliance Defending Freedom sued Shawnee State University on behalf of Dr. Merriweather. I want to ask the question, can we win? We can win. We will win if we will tend to business. The principles, the law, the Constitution is on our side. They sued the university on behalf of Dr. Merriweather. The university, by law, had to restore his position, apologize for removing him, and they paid him $400,000 in damages. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to fight for this beautiful land. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Hang in there, Ryan. It's almost your turn. Anyway, Shane couldn't make it tonight, so Connor Alford with the Oklahoma, I know who you are, Oklahoma Second Amendment Association is going to lead the parade tonight or whatever, so it's your game now.
Thank you so much, Don. Yeah, as Don mentioned, Shane Jemison called in, so I am the last-minute substitute. Connor Alford, this is what I look like. Sorry, you're just going to have to deal with that. If our candidates would like to come up and take a seat up here, you can pull those seats forward. Those seem a little bit far. While they're getting set up, I have been given permission to make a couple announcements of my own, but I'll keep them brief because I'm sure you're getting impatient at this time. If you have a cell phone, calendar, go ahead and put these dates in, if you do not mind. So first, on May 26th, the Oklahoma Second Amendment Association will be meeting in this room. Our speaker for that day will be the U.S. Senate candidate, Alex Gray. We've previously had Senator Langford, State Senator Nathan Dahm, and a number of other major speakers. We will provide a legislative update informing you what's been happening at the state capitol during this session. And we'll also go ahead and be releasing our endorsements for this and other races on the 26th. We usually meet at 5:30 on the last Thursday of each month. Now, next month, the primary election is scheduled to take place on June 28th. So to make sure that we have a meeting next month in advance of that primary, we're going to move it up one Thursday. So it'll be the penultimate, the second to last Thursday. So this month, May 26th, Alex Gray. Next month, 5:30, Thursday, June 23rd, again, the Oklahoma Second Amendment Association. Over the weekend, first off, happy Mother's Day for the mothers who are in here. Over the weekend, the Bryan County Crisis Pregnancy Center has launched one of our annual fundraisers. It's a baby bottle fundraiser. If you want to see what these baby bottles look like, there's one out in the foyer over here. But basically, we're looking for people who would be interested in setting these up in their places of worship or places of business so people can drop spare change in the bottle and bring it to the Crisis Pregnancy Center. Y'all might not know this, but since the Texas law went into effect last year, we've had a three times increase in the number of abortion-minded women who are reaching out to us. This is our opportunity to give them the life-saving support and empowerment that they need. I'm assuming it's a pretty pro-life audience, but even if you're not, I think we can all at the very least agree that we don't want people choosing to get abortions because they feel like they have no choice because there's nobody supporting them. We save lives, we support mothers because you can love them both, but we need your help. We're completely volunteer funded, and our job is getting harder. Oklahoma this year signed a 6-week abortion ban. We used to have months and months and months to counsel these women and guide them to life. Now we've got 6 weeks. So I want you to imagine that one day someone you've never met shows up and says, oh, I'm going to get an abortion. I'm 5 weeks pregnant. My schedule is on Wednesday. You have this 5 minutes. You have these 2 days at most to talk this person out of it. It's hard. We need your support. So please, if you're interested in getting a bottle, come talk to me. Let me know. If you've got some spare change, feel free to drop it in the bottle. And again, we are 100% volunteer funded. We take no government funds. It's on you. Okay, so those are my announcements, and I'm going to go ahead and explain the format before we begin taking questions. So one of my college Republicans here, this gentleman, Brady Robinson, handsome fella in the back, he's already handed out some note cards. If you didn't get one, you can raise your hand, try to catch his eye. He'll bring you one. Please write your questions down on those. He will collect them and bring them up to me. The reason that we are doing this format is that we are also live streaming, And in order to make sure that our audiences at home are able to hear us, the questions have to be read over the mic, and they have to be read audibly and clearly. So it's just to make sure everyone can hear. I don't see any questions about the format. So while we're waiting for questions to come in, we do have a couple pre-prepared. And I will begin by asking each of the candidates, what unique qualifications do you bring to the table? And how will they help you best serve House District 21 as a state representative? And we'll start with Dustin, and then we'll work that way.
All right, again, my name's Dustin Reed. Some of the unique qualifications that I have working through Choctaw Nation, I've been in human resources. I've been in project management, over a $9 million human capital system. And in my current role in strategic development, I've got 15 various departments. I've got tourism, small business, economic development, retail operations. A lot of what I learned in this position has helped me, will put me in a position at the Capitol to bring funding to District 21 to help grow our area the right way. I'm also a former teacher, and so I will stand with our current legislators and ban the teaching of any sexual indoctrination and critical race theory, But also, being a farmer and rancher, I'm not scared to work. I will go to work for you guys every single day that I'm up there. And I think that is a unique ability. Nobody will outwork me. Nobody outworks me at work. I like to be the top dog, and I will do anything to get there. But, another key aspect, working at Choctaw Nation, we play politics every day there at the organization. And my ability to connect with people, to build relationships is what we need at the Capitol. And I will be able to work with any legislator, any senator that's there. And I will also work with our elected officials. We've got several county commissioners here tonight. But that is my promise to you, is being collaborative, helping build those relationships, and the hardest work ethic that you'll find here in District 21.
Penny?
Me it was. Okay. I am Penny James. And the question that Connor asked, what my qualifications or what qualities that I have that would make me a good state representative? Well, I think the first one is I have the Lord on my side. I'm a born-again Christian, and I get up and I pray and I get in the Word every day. So I'm letting the Lord guide me. This was not an easy decision for me to decide to do this. I was convicted. And when I stood up and said I was going to, it seemed like I found peace. So what I can bring as a state rep is this. First of all, I'm not a politician. So if that's what you're wanting, I'm not. I'm going up there. I am someone that loves America, and I love Oklahoma. I love District 21, and I love the people. I'm a relationship builder. I'm genuine. I grew up in a generation where I was raised in church. I was taught right from wrong. I was not perfect, but we knew. My dad said, I can't be with you 24/7. We lived in a small town. But I knew if I got caught, I was going to get in trouble. That kept me from doing a lot of things of the consequences. And I think that's what we need here on ours. I have served on some boards, so I know about pressure. I've done a rural water board, hospital board, where I was the only one that voted no, and I did not let them change my mind. So I know a little bit about pressure when you go up there. I think my maturity and wisdom has a little bit of advantage because I went through some obstacles. I went through some failures. It's made me stronger as a person. It's re-evaluated my life. I've been a mother. I'm a widow too, so I know some grief. So I think I can go up there, like I say, I'm a relationship person. I can talk to people. I can get my point across. I'm not one of yes, I know the budget. I know things, but I'm going to let the Lord lead me while I'm there. That's going to be my person that I go to. So, and I think with the voters of 21, District 21, I'm going to rely on you guys because I'm going up there because of you. You know, that's one thing I just think we need to get back to town hall meetings. I need to know what you guys. So I'm going to be that listener. I want to be that voice. I'm ready to go to work for you guys if you give me that chance.
Go ahead, Cody.
Well, I've talked to you all a little bit already about my qualifications as a CPA, but one of the unique things I get to see as a CPA is you can actually tell a whole lot about any person or business just by looking at how they spend their money. And one of the things that and this thing is really going to stay over here. There we go. There, that's better. But just by looking at how we use our money as a state or as people, you can tell a whole lot about what our values are. You know, here in Oklahoma, we appropriate about almost half of our budget to education. That tells me that education is a top priority to us. Now, could our education system be better? Absolutely it could. One of the things I want to bring to the table is my background's in financial management, accounting, business administration. You know, one of the unique things, whether you're in farming, ranching, small business, whether you're a policeman, an educator, everything you do takes money, and it takes proper use of money. And I don't know how many people you actually have up there that can sit down and read a set of financial statements, much less tell you how the money got there and how it should be used. Because you need somebody up there that can make hard choices. I've talked to lots of people. They like to tell me all the areas that they think we need more funding in. And I don't disagree with you. We do need more funding for our police. We need more funding for education. We need more funding for our roads and bridges and infrastructure. But I also understand that to get more money for that, I either have to take it from somewhere else or from your pockets. And those are not decisions that should be made lightly. Those are decisions that need to be weighed out with wisdom, with discussions with people in the room. And I'm a person that can have those discussions. I work on budgets all the time. I work with people with different backgrounds. I've worked to help start nonprofits for people doing homeless outreaches. I've worked with people doing businesses that mow lawns. I've worked in all sorts of business types. And what I can tell you is you can step into any business and help anyone as long as you have skills that you can understand how to run a business, which our government, you know, in Oklahoma, we have to have a balanced budget, which I would love to get our federal government there someday. But in Oklahoma, we actually have to have a balanced budget. That's a unique thing. And you need somebody up there that, you know, we are entering perilous times. I don't know if you know this, but there's a very, very high chance that we're going to be stepping into an economic recession in the coming 12 to 18 months. And in that, you know, right now, all I have heard from our legislators is that we've had $300 million surplus this past year. That's fantastic. Let's apply the 9% inflation rate to our $28 billion budget and see if that $300 million is enough to cover that. And I can tell you it is not. You need somebody up there that recognizes the times, that's planning ahead, and that I'm not focused on starting a bunch of new programs and spending money. We have to raise the wages, the allocations for supplies, materials for every single department in this state by at least 9%, or every one of you is falling behind. And that's what I want to bring to our state, that I bring those skills to our state, proper management of our funds. Thank you.
Ryan, it's all you.
All right. Can you hear me? Okay, good. All right. Yeah. So unique qualifications, I would say I have. Well, just my job in general. I get to travel the country. Certainly has prepared me to represent in a positive way there. Every morning, my job is unique that I work 3 days a week. I'm typically gone Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that's it. So every morning of the week, other than that, I'm at a local coffee shop there, drinking coffee with many of our first responders, some of our small business owners there in town, and I get to hear their ideas of things that need changed, you know, things that need addressed, and I certainly think that that has benefited me. On top of that, my parents own a small business there in town. The Country Framer there on 3rd Street. Many of you might know that. And so all of those things have certainly prepared me to represent in a positive way, and given me the skills to talk to the public, to understand what's going on in our community and things that need addressed. Lastly, I work in a crew environment. I mean, I have another pilot there with me. I have either 3 or 4 flight attendants in the back of the aircraft with me, depending on which plane we're flying. And so that's very important. I mean, if you go up to the Capitol there, we're working with many other members. We have to work as a team. We have to work as a group. Even if we don't agree with each other on some issues, we still have to work together. And I do that daily. I do that every single day with my job. So without a doubt, that certainly prepares me. There's no question. And I look forward to, talking with all of you in the community there and doing everything that we can to improve our community.
Thank you. Taxes, guns, babies, go. And we'll start with Ryan and work in the opposite direction this time. So Ryan, taxes, guns, babies.
All right, let me get you off mute here. Okay, yeah, taxes. Of course, none of us want to pay taxes, but we have to. I mean, it's just part of life. It's one of the things that we got to do. So there's things that need to be taxed heavy, I would say, for lack of better words. We've got a lot of medical marijuana in our area. These are places where we can get taxed, where we can get money. I don't want to burden our citizens any more than we have to. Just like anybody else. I mean, I'm sure we're all going to say the same thing on that, but we have to be realistic on taxes. Guns. I own many of them. Like I say, I attended your meeting there a couple of days ago, and I was glad that you had me there. I've been very pro-gun my entire life. I grew up hunting and fishing, grew up in the country with my dad there. I've shot guns since I was a very small child. I have a concealed carry permit, or a firearms license, as it we call now, as well. And so I'm very pro-gun, always will be. It's a big part of why I live where I do. I've traveled to a lot of different cities throughout the country, and I'll always be where I am right there. Now, for the babies portion, okay, many of you may not know this. My little boy has Down syndrome. He's 1 year old. If we would have known that during my wife's pregnancy, that would have changed absolutely nothing. His life is the most precious thing ever. It would have changed nothing. I don't know a better way of showing my my stance on that than just to say my personal experience. My little boy says everything for us. So there you go.
All right, taxes, gun, babies. So taxes, taxes is actually something that we as a people actually elect how much we pay. Like, you send representatives up there to help actually set the rate. And this past year, they actually lowered taxes a 0.25 percentage point. Taxes, they help go towards essential things to protect you as citizens, going towards our police, going towards our education, and going towards roads, bridges. And I think, taxes need to be kept as low as possible, always, but we have to strike a hard balance in this state. And this is what I really want to help you navigate as a people. I've heard you say we want more money for education. I've heard you say we want more money for our roads and infrastructures. I agree with you. If we're going to do that, we either have to cut government spending, or we're going to have to agree as a people that we're willing to all pay a little bit more for those features that we want. So that's a conversation I want to navigate with you well, is let's go as a group, as a people, what do we agree is the most important, and let's move forward in that direction. When it comes to guns, don't hold this against me, but I was raised in Texas, okay? I moved here as soon as I could, so I've been here since 2010. But I will tell you this, when I actually moved here, it was a little bit of a rude awakening for me. I had to relearn what was legal with guns, because Oklahoma was not as protective of your gun rights as Texas was. And that was a shock to me. So as I have gone through that process of having to relearn what's legal and not legal, and how can I protect myself on my own property. In Oklahoma, basically, if your life's in threat, they have to be basically in your house. The joke is pull them inside before you shoot them. That kind of stuff is ridiculous that we have to say that even as a joke, but there's real situations where people are breaking in houses and you're fearful of your life, of your family and your kids, and if you were to point a gun at them through your window, they can actually file a charge against you. That is crazy. So I want to, our gun rights originally, they were given to us in the Constitution, actually as a means of ourselves as the people protecting ourselves from a rogue government. I hope we never get there again. But secondarily, it was actually an expectation for you to protect your own property because you have the rights to your own life and to your property. And with that, it comes the responsibility of protecting it. And then we as the people, we get to hold you accountable if you misuse that right. So that's where I stand on guns, is that I believe everyone has the right to self-defense, and they should be trained and taught how to use that right. When it comes to our children, I've got 3 little kids. They're the best things in the world. I'll just tell you, I'm a Christian. My beliefs come at the Bible, and it says that before I even knew you, you were formed in your mother's womb. That's where I stand, is that at the moment that you are conceived, that is a human life. It has a unique set of DNA from the mother. I've heard a lot of arguments saying a woman has a right to her body. I absolutely agree with you, she does. But what's inside her body is not hers. It's just like I have a right to my home, and if I want to, I can take a bulldozer and tear my home down. But did you know it would be illegal and a crime if I tore it down while someone was in it? That's where I stand, is that we're going to protect our kids. So if it's not done before I get in there, which we've made some really big strides, but if it's not done before then, I will be pushing for us to be an abortion-free state. The only exception I would make is an ectopic pregnancy. That's where the baby implants in the fallopian tube, and it's actually a death sentence for the baby and the mother. And in that case, that's where a hard decision has to be made. But that's the only exception I have in my heart for that. So thank you very much.
Well, we kind of like need to be tag teaming because just like Ryan said and Cody said, I'm just kind of like just having to react over everything they're saying. But taxes, just like they were saying, I know we have taxes and we have to have them, like you say, for teachers, we have to have them for our police and things. I'm one of those that I think a lot of that on raising taxes, we've got unnecessary spending. So that is something that, again, I want to be for the people. I want to represent you. If you're saying we're had enough of taxes, then I need to go in that budget and I need to look to see if we're spending taxes on unnecessary things that we do not believe in. That's what I want to do. When I go to guns, I'm just going to say right now, I believe in the Second Amendment, right to bear arms. I was raised around guns too. I am an NRA member. I have guns in my homes too. I was taught to respect a gun, but I was also taught that a gun was to protect. My mom and I lived together, and probably about a month ago, we have an alarm system, and I did. We had someone at 2:43 a.m., my alarm went off, and I'm telling you, that makes you sit up in bed, just bam. And I've always told my mom, stay in your bedroom, lock your door, because I don't want to have to worry about what I'm going to have, if I'm going to hurt you or shoot you, So I go to the alarm system to see where the contact was made is in the front door. Well, the first thing that I did was grab my gun because I was going to protect myself and protect my mom. So I believe guns are there for a purpose on that part. So, yes, I believe we have the right to bear arms to protect ourselves. Babies and children, I was a teacher. Children are the most precious thing that we get from God. They are, babies too. And that's what we should, when we have children. When I had children in the classroom, I'm going to tell you, I loved every one of them. They were like my kids. I called them my kids. So I know on that part. Every time I had a year, and I was in the classroom 30 years, that first 9 weeks, I had a paper sent home to the parents that they signed that I could take each child home during that 9 weeks to get a feel of what they were living in, to see what the circumstances is. And it made a big thing in me to know, to see what they are. Not everyone grew up like me. You know, I get to thinking of my own self. I grew up in a middle-class home that we worked. We didn't have to work after school, but we did chores. We didn't get paid for chores. We got paid when we needed something like a pair of ball shoes. We did our chores. My dad paid. Well, that's your money. So I understand, but sometimes I wonder about myself. Would I, if I didn't have someone like a teacher, my parents, someone that was looking out for me, would I had pulled myself up on that part? So I took those kids, they were mine, and I wanted to make an impact. So I believe, just like Cody said, every child conceived is a gift from God.
All right. Guns, babies, and taxes. I'll start off with taxes. My response is short. I support your rights to have low taxes. I will fight against any tax increase at that Capitol. We need more taxpayers, not more taxes. We do that by bringing in businesses to our area. We do that with all the housing growth that we have. So I support no new increase to taxes. We need more taxpayers. Guns. I have an A rating with OK2A and the NRA. I'm a lifetime Oklahoma fishing and hunting license holder. I'm an avid outdoorsman, so guns are very important to me. Getting my wife and my kids involved. She still won't let me buy them a BB gun for Christmas, so maybe y'all can help me coax her into that. But I want my daughters raised up around that. You know, in the world that we live in, protection is important. And, you know, having my daughters, having that right to bear arms here in Oklahoma is very important. And babies. I'm 100% pro-life. You know, I'm with, I believe Cody said it, the 6 weeks, and when the health of the mother is in question, I do support it then. But when I get to the Capitol, I will join in my fellow Republicans and protect the right of the unborn. And I will also champion working with my fellow Republicans and our congressional delegates to challenge the leak of this Roe v. Wade by the liberal left. We need to push them for congressional hearings because our right to protect our unborn children is the first right that we have. I believe that you know, we can offer services to our mothers. My brother is about to have a child, and like Connor said, you know, let's counsel them into parenthood. It's one of the best things. It's my greatest honor is being a dad. It made me mature. It gave me a new sense of purpose, and if there's anything I can do to give my daughters a better life and also the unborn children that are coming into Oklahoma, I will do everything I can to fight for that. So, thank you.
They leaked the case early because they like to kill things prematurely. Sorry, was that too dark? Sorry. Okay, so for our next question, as of right now, what do you think the main concern of District 21 is, or what the main concerns are, and how will you address that problem? Penny, we'll let you go first this time.
Step on your boots. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. I've got some ideas of myself, but again, I keep stressing you're my voice, okay? I don't know. I've been out there in knocking doors, and I've heard some things of some issues. But when it comes down to it, you're going to be my voice of what you guys want changed up there. But for me, I would like to see more budget transparency. I think Oklahoma is one of the few states that you know what bill is going to be introduced up there. We don't know anything about it until it gets there around May, 1st of May. by then it's too late. I want us to have more budget transparency of the bills that's being introduced way before it hits around May. I honestly think the people and the voters should be able to give their opinion of what bills that needs to be introduced. I do think we need better budget transparency so we can see where everything's going and make that where we can just have a hands look at it. Another thing, I've got lots of them, so I'm going to narrow it down. Another thing, our homeless problem here that we have. And one of the things, and I did vote no for it, but about a couple of years ago it came out on the ballot where it was marijuana was going to be a misdemeanor instead of a felony, okay? What was tagged onto it was your other drugs, your cocaine, your meth, things like that, that are no longer a felony, okay? They're misdemeanors too. So when they get arrested, they can pay the fine or they don't pay the fine or they go to jail. I think we need to get that taken off. I've heard, used to you do that, kind of dangle the carrot and the stick where, hey, if you get arrested, you can go to drug court. If you don't, you go to prison. Now there's probably a stick, but there's no carrot. Okay, so I do think that's a big problem here. So that is just two of mine would be the budget transparency and the drug problem of where we need to get back to the felony. And I'm not saying that prison is the answer, but I know we need to get it where just because they get a misdemeanor, it doesn't matter if they get one 5 or 6 times. I think that's why you're seeing a lot of the increase in the crime. I don't know if you knew this, but Dallas, was cleaning up an area downtown with all the homeless. So they bought a one-way ticket for the homeless to come to Durant. And so that's another reason we have so many in that. So that's just two of mine, but like I say, mine is going to be from the people. I want to see what's your concerns and your issues. That's who I'm serving.
Well, I've had the pleasure of getting out and meeting a lot of you over the past several months, and probably the number one issue I've heard from you has been inflation. And it's something that's affecting everybody. It's affecting our trucking industry heavily when you're paying $5.25 for diesel. But here's what I'm going to tell you is, unfortunately, that problem is being caused mainly by our federal government right now. So there's not a lot we can do at the state level, but what we can do is we can start holding our representatives at the federal level accountable. And in the meantime, if you want to talk to me about how to position your portfolio to weather the inflation fiasco, I'll just give you the tidbit. Invest in commodities. They react to inflation the fastest of any other investment type. So that's just a free tidbit. But the secondary issue I'll give you that I have heard you talk about that is a state issue is medical marijuana. So this thing comes up all the time where they ask me the question, why do we have so many dispensaries? We have over 50 just in Durant city limits alone, just so you know. Last I heard, Ron, you might correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have, 200 grow operations licensed in Brown County? When that got put on the state ballot, it opened up a whole world of possibility that our state was not prepared for. And in talking with teachers, we're seeing the impact on our children, that parents are dropping their kids off high, that kids are coming to school high, that there's very little that officers can even do anymore because almost everybody has a card. It's extremely easy to get one. So my father, he's actually a doctor. So I went and called my dad. I said, Dad, let's talk about this. And through talking with him, there is valid medical use for medical marijuana, okay? We'll be 100%. There is a valid use case for it. It helps people with seizures immensely, okay? So I'm not against valid medical use. What I am against is cards being handed out for 2 years at a time. So I asked my dad, I said, okay, any controlled substance you have to write a script for, what's that look like? He's like, oh, minimum. They have to come back every 3 months and see me to make sure that they still need it. I don't see why it should be any different for medical marijuana. We should not hand out cards and say, hey, see me in 2.5 years. That kind of stuff is no control. The secondary thing is opened up an enormous black market and crime in our state. And we have to close that door. In talking with even some people who actually grow in our area, they weren't happy about it. They said in their experience, they're seeing 80% getting sold out on the black market from other buyers, and that is opening up crime in our state. So the thing that I think we need to be very, very careful of is even in bills now, people talk about the solution they're saying is to legalize it and tax it. Here's why I don't want to do that. Number one, marijuana just being on the streets, it's going to just increase the rates of traffic accidents. It can increase the rates of people coming to school high. There's nothing you can do about these situations. And if you start to tax it, here's what's going to happen is our state's going to rely on it for income. And at that point, they will never be willing to give it up. And it will become a drug for our state and not just for our people. And I'm against that. So, thank you.
I've had the pleasure of knocking about 2,000 doors in the last couple of months, and there's two key issues that keep coming up with everyone I talk to. The first one is our infrastructure. I've got some friends over in Marshall County, a lot of their county commissioners, and it might be the same over here. You guys are having to share labor and share equipment. You guys can only lay a certain amount of road per year. We need to increase that because Durant, our community is growing fast. When everybody's placing these dirt roads, we've got to get you guys some more help. The second one is our rural health care. We're very rural here. A lot of people are having to drive down to TMC. And Kingston's fighting from closing. So protecting our rural health care, our workforce development of our nurses, our doctors, we need to do something to attract them back into our area so we can provide those services locally. Another issue is the access to broadband internet. I live 10 minutes from the Choctaw Casino, and I do not have access to internet where I live. So a lot of parents realize that whenever we're out during COVID, a lot of their kids did not have access to internet. So providing some more local rural broadband would definitely increase our capacity to increase new business, provide those services at home, provide options for education for our students, and provide training for workforce development. Another shortage, talking to multiple business owners around Bryan County, is the shortage of workers. We have the lowest unemployment rate in a long time. I think it's 2.5%. We need to utilize our KTCs, the Kaimishi Technology Center, to utilize them. I just got named to the Business Education Council there, so I'm going to work with those guys in the next year or so. We need to provide our community the skills that they need to meet our industry that is here locally. We've got CMC, we've got Bruce Pack. A lot of those guys have specific needs, and we need to be able to offer those types of trainings for our community. And lastly, I'll leave you with this. A lot of people are concerned about our border. With us being just north of Texas, we're next. And I don't know what we can do locally, but whatever comes out of that legislature, I would gladly support strengthening our border and protecting Oklahoma from illegal immigration.
All right, last but not least.
Okay, yeah. So the main thing I was going to say was the infrastructure. When I'm sitting there drinking coffee with my buddies and everything, I mean, everybody talks about, we need better roads, and it's not our people's fault, and our workers and whatnot. Like, to give you a good example, I live down Treaty Road there in Calera, and it's pretty rough. It's getting really bad, actually. It takes me quite a while to get down that road. But just the other day, we had a road crew out there working, and they were pouring some red dirt in the potholes, which, it's a good temporary fix. It's not a permanent fix. The fellow I talked to, I said, hey, I always stop and say thank you, just because I'm very grateful for any work they're doing on the road to help me out. It and all of us out, it really means a lot. Well, he said, what we should do is just rip this whole road up and start new, redo it. He said, but don't hold your breath. And, and that's the problem. I mean, he's right. There's not going to be the funding for it. We don't have the manpower for it. and it's not their fault. So that's the primary thing I would say in our district that affects all of us every day. As for the marijuana side of it, once again, it's a big thing in our community. I have a little bit different viewpoint on that. I say we do tax it. I think it's here to stay. I don't think it's going away, and I think that we should capitalize on it. There's definitely valid times when medical marijuana is beneficial, and I'm glad that it's there for that. There's also many times when people are using it recreationally, and they're taking advantage of the system. And there is some money to help all of us, in that respect. So that would be the only thing that I would have a little bit differing opinion on. The other things, I think we're all in agreement on.
Okay, I think that we have time for one more question. So, Cody, I'll let you start this one. What particular piece of legislation will you introduce first before bill filing in December? So what is the specific bill you will introduce first and foremost? Cody, you're up.
I've actually ran into this is that I want to support the young entrepreneurs of America. So this is actually a bill idea I've had going in the back of my mind that, I don't know if you know this, but right now, if you have kids that, let's say they're age 16 and under, and they want to start a lemonade stand, do you know that they actually have to file for a sales tax permit in our state? Yeah. If you go sell at the farmer's market and you don't have a sales tax permit, guess who can come knocking at your door? Now, I think it's ridiculous. I have my kid, he was 8 years old at the time, and he's like, Dad, I want to do a lemonade stand. And I was like, son, it's going to cost me $200 to file the permits for this. And, here's the deal. I'm a CPA. I can't say that I didn't know better, right? So if I don't, so I had to say, son, like, we can't do that right now. Do you know other states, they actually have bills in place right now that say if you sell, non-alcoholic drinks on private property and you're age 15 and under, you don't have to have a permit. It's for the purpose of learning the principles and skills of business. We need to be raising up the next generation to do so. Like, I don't see any reason. Like, one of my kids was like, hey, can I have a chicken? I can sell eggs. I don't see why you shouldn't be able to do something like that. It's just a small business for a child to sit out there and be able to do. And so I want to see us promote new opportunities to raise our kids, not just education in school, but practical education of actually getting out and having real life experience, because you learn so much when you actually get out of a textbook and you start a business for real. That's where the real learning hits the road. So I know it may seem kind of like at times a funny bill, but I think the practicality of what we can teach our next generation by getting out there, letting them actually put their hands to the plow and say, hey, here's your first $20. Go buy the cups, go buy the lemons, make the budget balance. I need you to sell it, and then learn how to keep their own records and to make money, and not to have to sit there and pay the government to teach your kids. Yeah. So, thank you.
Okay, there's a couple things that I would like to introduce on a bill, but again, these are my ideas. I want the voters of District 21 to help me decide what we need on that. But the very first one, I know this is a controversial thing, and but it's still going to be around. I know COVID is going to be around in the vaccinations, okay? I think as Americans, we have the right to wear a mask or not wear a mask, to take the vaccine or not take the vaccine, and I want that in a bill that even the small businesses do not have to put anything on their sign. It's a very controversial thing for me on the vaccine and things. So that's one of the things. The second thing I would like to put on the bill is, when I was a school teacher, when we lined up for lunch, we got to say the blessing over the food. We're not allowed to do that anymore. I want that to be, if a teacher in their classroom wants to pray for them before they go to eat, I think that's a right in our classroom. So I would like to put the prayer back in to our schools.
You're up, Ryan.
All right. Well, so the way I would answer that, I think, all right, so we're all pretty like-minded. I mean, we're all Republicans. We're all from southeastern Oklahoma. We all live in the same community there. We're probably going to answer this question pretty much the same, I would think. Maybe that's an assumption that I shouldn't make. But the primary thing I would say is we're being elected to represent you. So the first bill that I would introduce would have to do with what our community, what our district has asked me to introduce. Now, the true nature of this question, I imagine, is, well, what's important to us as candidates? And I've made it pretty clear, I think, that my primary reason for running is for my kids and for our education, where I feel that we need the biggest improvements. So my first bill, if it were my choice only and not asking, everybody else, which that is what my intent is, to ask everybody else, but if it were up to me, would have something to do with improving our education system. I've had the opportunity to meet with my daughter's superintendent, the 3 principals there in Clara. I've met with Mr. Meredith here as well in Durant. And many of the things that are problems right now, my understanding is, there's mandates being created without funding. So schools are being asked to do certain things and figure out a way to pay for it, figure out a way to do it. That's not acceptable, and that's not fair. That's not fair to our schools. That's not fair to our children. So I would introduce a bill that would improve the funding for our education, for our schools, and for our kids.
I'm going to be completely honest with you guys here tonight. I don't know what bill I would file first. But as a state legislator, what I plan to do is file bills that protect Southeast Oklahoma. I'm going to protect our water. I'm going to protect our lawmen and our first responders. And I'm going to pass legislation to bring business to our area and infrastructure dollars. I also plan on filing and joining in on my fellow Republicans on protecting any gun right in any bill that protects the unborn. And just personally, as a teacher, for me, a big piece of my platform is protecting our school choice. Our schools here know what's best for this community. I'm tired of seeing people in Tulsa and Oklahoma City dictating what we get to do down here in southeastern Oklahoma. We've got a different set of kids, and we need to raise them right with our Christian conservative values. So that's what I plan on doing day one.
All right, so we are out of time, at least for the formal part of tonight's meeting. I want to start by thanking each of the candidates for coming. Can we give them an extra round of applause? I want to thank y'all not just for being here, but for taking the step, showing some initiative and throwing your hat into the arena. I think it's extremely important that we have good Christian conservative leaders who are willing to serve. And I believe that that's what y'all are stepping out to do, so thank you. I'd also like to thank the audience. Thank you for showing up. The framers, they gave us a republic, if we can keep it. This Republican form of government that we enjoy does require the engagement of a citizenry. Democracy is not a spectator sport. At times, it feels like a full contact sport. But at the end of the day, it only works if you actually take part. So I'm going to assume that everyone in here is already registered to vote, but I'm also willing to bet that a lot of your friends and family aren't. Go to the local election board, pick up a registration form. My charge to you is to get one person registered to vote in time to participate in the primary election, because it's next month. It's June 28th. June 28th is your opportunity to vote. And in this district, if we're honest, whoever wins on June 28th stands a very good chance of winning in November. This election has consequences for that election, and that election will determine the future of our state. This is a critical juncture. I cannot stress enough the urgency of now. We cannot afford to wait. We cannot afford to sit on our hands and leave this for the next generation. Or one day people are going to look back in awe and wonder how it is that the people who stood to lose the most did the least to defend their freedoms. So again, thank you, and have a nice night.
And last but not least, before you go, David Bullard snuck in a minute ago. Our senator, a politician that has actually done what he promised. You're rare.
Yeah, thank you all very much. Let me start here. Thank you so much, every one of you. I did not have an opponent, which surprised me a little bit, but I'm kind of thankful that I don't, so I don't have to deal with what they're fixing to have to deal with. But let me express something to you from the bottom of my heart. You have no idea how proud I am to be your senator. I've never been one who lets a title wear me. I wear the title. And so call me David. I get called a lot of other names that I've answered to because I've been in the classroom as well. So understand something, though. It has been the greatest honor of my life. I've spent the last 4 years doing exactly what I told you I'd do. I told you I was going to fight to end abortion. We now have banned abortion both criminally and civilly in the state of Oklahoma. As a matter of fact, a Tulsa clinic just put up on their website that they are no longer providing abortions, one of the three. That's not one kid in a womb. That's generation after generation after generation after generation that you just saved. And that's not me. You hear me on this. That's you. I'm an extension of you. And I told you I'd do what I would, the fights I was going to make. I wasn't giving you a politician's dodge, and I wasn't giving you a politician's line. I was telling you my laundry list of things I am going to do, and I'm doing it. But I'm very honored to do that with you. Now, let me say this. For all of you who may be kind of downtrodden right now because of what's going on at the federal level and what Biden's doing and all these different things you're hearing about, we are winning this war. And especially here in Oklahoma, my intention is that Oklahoma will be for a long time the last bastion of freedom in this nation before it ever gets snuffed out. You will know and experience freedom before anybody else ever loses theirs. I want you to understand that. So when you're looking at candidates like these, and you got 4 quality candidates here, when we're looking at candidates like these, understand this. Freedom is first. What will you do on the day when you lose your freedom? Where will you go? There is nowhere else to go and nothing else to do. If you'll recall, Ronald Reagan once said that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. Be the reason why it doesn't go extinct in Oklahoma by picking good people who will go up and do exactly what they tell you to do. In my time there, guys, I never anticipated we'd ever get as far as we would get. I never thought we would get to the point where we are going to ban abortion in Oklahoma. Never thought it. I thought it would take 10, 12, 20 years to get there. We're there in 4 because of the work that people have done before me to get us there. This doesn't stop here. We have to put it in our Constitution. Hear me on this. It doesn't stop because we say in our statute that abortion is wrong. We have to get it right in our Constitution, because if we think that we're going to have a Republican majority forever, we are naive. Democrats 20 years ago thought they were going to always have the majority in Oklahoma, and look at where we are now. So keep in mind, we have to do things now so that our grandchildren don't have to answer for the same sins as our forefathers. Okay? Let me tell you something else. With schools, I am a former teacher, public school proud. I will try and do everything I can to make sure that our public schools have enough money to operate, but I will not fund indoctrination. Hear me now. I am going toe-to-toe with indoctrination in this state. That is a government school paid for by government dollars. Those are not my dollars. Those are yours. The time of indoctrination is over in Oklahoma, and in the next coming years, you're going to see it. Last year, I ran the bill to stop CRT from being taught in our schools and passed it. I spent the entire summer, writing the rules to make sure that if a teacher willingly teaches it, they are now going to lose their license and out of that classroom. Exactly how they should be. Right now, the reason why I was late, by the way, S-tags are fantastic. If y'all don't know what an S-tag is, I get an S-tag, it means I get to go as fast as I want. There's a reason why I got here before this thing was over. But I spent today working on a bill that I never thought in my lifetime I'd ever have to write, to say that biological boys have to go to biological boys' bathrooms, and biological girls need to go to biological girls' bathrooms. And if you have someone that can't figure it out, make an accommodation for them. We're going to be the first in the nation to pass it. I got the language set today. We're going to pass it. We have so much work to do, though. Indoctrination is rampant. We need school choice like we've never had before to create competition within that marketplace. Parents have to be in control of your child's education. Have to. That is not a negotiable thing. And so we have to make sure of that. And you wouldn't believe the fight that I've had to fight this year with Republicans, not Democrats. If you think Democrats have anything to say in your government here in Oklahoma, you're not paying attention. It is Republicans who killed bills to say that a minor cannot get contraception without parental permission first. They're the ones that killed that, not Democrats. Who said that a school could give them a vaccination to a minor without ever notifying the parents that they did so. That was Republicans that killed that bill. Republicans are the ones who killed the bill to say that you shall not indoctrinate any student into socialism, communism, Marxism, or anti-American bias. Not Democrats. It is vital that you understand what is happening. We cannot allow the left-leaning Republican moderates to dominate us anymore. We're taking it back. But let me give you the hope. We're taking it back. Right now in the Senate, we're up to almost 20 people in the Senate that are solid Christian constitutional Republicans. That's going to be fun when we get to that point. So we are winning this war, and we're going to take this thing back by storm. Let me close with this. William Booth, you know who he is? Founder of the Salvation Army. One of the greatest men I've ever read about in history. Just absolutely amazing in what he knew and what he did. But he was asked by a newspaper reporter once what the chief danger of the coming 20th century was. And his answer is profound. Listen to what he said. He said, the chief danger of the coming 20th century shall be religion without the Holy Ghost, Christianity without Christ, salvation without regeneration, forgiveness without repentance. Listen, politics without God, and a heaven without a hell. If you want to see what happens to a country that says politics have no place, or God has no place in politics, you are witnessing it firsthand. Do not surrender your freedoms to the highest bidder. Put people up there who will go and fight and then get out and go do something else. I love every one of you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Appreciate you.
And we appreciate your dedication.
I thought you had money for me.
It's in the mail. I just want to remind everybody, the 31st of May, she's got some great stories, and you really learn a lot. So I want to thank you guys for all showing up. I want to thank you for what you're doing. And now I'll shut up. Good night.